Iron sharpens iron.
The third letter of the Hebrew Alef-Bet is called Gimel. Gimel, in ancient Hebrew, means camel. The letter symbolizes walking, carrying, gathering, lifting up, and self-pride. The word that means proud tells us that a proud person is one who lifts up in his own strength. Proverbs 16, verse 19, "It is better to be humble in spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud."
There's a bit of controversy behind the pictograph of Gimel. Some say it's a plain old foot, some say a camel's foot, some say it's just a camel, and some even say it's a boomerang. We're definitely in the foot camp. And that's because words that use the letter Gimel often have to do with things that feet and camels seem to do. And that's lifting, walking, and gathering. Now, as far as lifting goes, some lifting is in a good sense, and some lifting is in a bad sense. Good sense lifting, for example, would be in its use as a redeemer, when somebody is lifted up and restored. And in a bad sense, when somebody is lifted up and proud. We'll start off with the good side of Gimel, the redemption. So tell me about Ga'al. You said it's your favorite word that begins with Gimel.
Yeah, well, Ga'al is the word redeemer, such as Messiah is the ultimate redeemer. He being also kinsman of the tribe of Judah, he's the kinsman redeemer, Ga'al, and that's my favorite. Now, being someone that does the martial arts, I also like Avenger.
That's one translation.
As one many. Yeah, Redeemer is used 18 times under Ga'al. Kinsman is 13, and Avenger is used 6 times. So I like the Avenger, Ga'al. I'll put a big G on my super uniform when I get a cape and mask on. So yeah, I like the letter Gimel. It's awesome. The third letter in the alphabet, but we don't do gematria here, right?
Right.
We don't do that. It's too loosely affiliated with Kabbalah, so something we do not play with. No mysticism here. Now, in the old days, in the paleo days, they didn't use horses to ride on. They didn't have horses until the Syrians learned about them from the Scythians, who were horsemen. And that's why they say the Syrian and the horse. Look out. But in the old days, they used camels. Now, in the old days, if you got too near a camel and you made him uncomfortable, he'd spit on you, and then he'd stomp you. You would get gimmeled. You got gimmeled, yeah. So Gimel. It does mean a camel foot. They did not use horses back in the paleo days.
So the language itself in Hebrew, there's a word gamal, which is pretty close to Gimel, and gamal, even in biblical times, is the word for camel. So that's the camel relation there.
There you go. Now, camel meant strength and endurance. That's what it meant. It also meant you had ability.
So it's used for the G is the first letter in the word for warrior and valiant, Gibor.
There you go, Gibor. So we have many uses of that word when we'll be learning it. But you got Gibor, which it means a mighty man.
I think that's the name given to David's mighty men too. They're the Giborim.
Giborim, exactly.
One story I wanted to bring up, since you brought up the word Ga'al and Redeemer, there's a story in the Old Testament about Ga'al, and it involves a foot as well.
What story would that be?
That's the story of Boaz and Ruth. So Naomi instructs Ruth in order to get Boaz to act as her kinsman redeemer, her Gaal, to go and uncover his feet and fall asleep by his feet, and that Boaz would know what to do once she did that. And so she goes and she does that, and he's like, I got it, I'll take care of it. He goes to her actual next of kin, and he tells her next of kin, if you won't Gaal for Ruth, then I will Gaal for Ruth. And then they trade shoes, and the whole thing is a done deal. And she becomes part of the family line of King David. Really cool story.
Yeah, and that's how you get into the line of Messiah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks to Gimel. Thanks to Gimel. Yeah, whenever we do Gimel, we seem to have a lot of footnotes, right?
No pun intended.
No pun intended, but yeah, Gimel has a lot of footnotes.
Yeah.
We make sure of that.
Yep. So back on the topic of Gaal as avenger, you were telling me an amazing story about Cain and Abel.
Yeah, of course, we know that Cain got angry and jealous, and he attacked his brother. Now, he didn't mean to kill him, but he did. And for that, he was punished to be a wanderer, a vagabond. In other words, you're not going to hang around your family or people. You got to leave your people, a vagabond. So he goes, but men will want to kill me. He goes, no, I'll mark you and let everyone know that you're to be left alone. And he was allowed to go and build a city of refuge, the city of Nod, just east of Eden. And the same goes in when they brought out the 12 tribes from Egypt. The Torah states that if two men get in an argument and one beats another one, and it's unto death, so that he becomes a manslayer, then you're to build cities of refuge to send these men while the congregation makes judgment. Now, if the man is guilty, of course he's stoned to death, and reparations are done unto the family. But if he's not guilty, then he must stay in the city of refuge. At least Gaal goes and gets a vengeance on him. And that's why you have city of refuge, for the manslayer that who didn't mean it, so he may have a life and start over again, because he didn't mean to kill him. And that's the story of Gaal.
There are a few words I wanted to share with you that relate to the inheritance Father promised. The first one is kabod. Kabod is a picture of the palm of the hand, a kaf, the house, a beit, and a door, dalet. So we know that beit is used for the word in or inside. Dalet is used for door or gates. Other things as well, but we'll get to that in another episode. So what kabod is showing is a picture of something that you have in the palm of your hand within your gates. That's a description of anything that you own, anything that's at your house or otherwise in your possession or in your control. And in Hebrew, this word is translated, from the Hebrew, it's translated as wealth. And it's also translated as glory. So when you read about the glory of the Lord, you're reading about his kabod. Both Abraham and Melchizedek called Father the possessor of earth. And it's written that the whole earth is full of his glory, of his kabod, because he owns all of it. It's all his. Now Abraham referred to him as the possessor of earth because he made Abraham a promise of an inheritance. As the title owner of the planet, only Father was able to tell Abraham, a man on earth, that there is a piece of land that I'm going to give you. And so Abraham believed in this promise, and his descendants believe in this promise. And it describes the descendants of Abraham who will inherit this promise as meek. Both the psalmist and Yeshua say that the meek will inherit the earth. In Hebrew, the word for meek is the same as the word for humble, and that word is anah. Here's what anah looks like. It has 3 letters as well. The first one is ayin, which is a picture of the eye, and this letter is used, one meaning of it is understanding. The second one is a nun, which is a picture of a seed or a serpent, and can mean life or the spirit. The third letter is the he, which is a man. And so what meek is someone who understands the life of man. He understands that he is created. And he is the opposite of proud. He is humble. And let me show you what pride looks like. Pride starts with that Gimel. The second letter is the Aleph that we remember. And the third is the man. So a proud man lifts up the horn of man. He does not lift up the horn of El. He lifts up his own horn. Now those who lift up themselves, he will humble. But the humble, he will lift up. Now that we're on episode 3 and we've learned 3 letters, let's see what we can spell with them.
Gimel.